Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the League of Inches podcast. News update, weekly special, as we're doing in the off-season, just to keep you guys up to date with everything that's happening in the rugby league world and our views on all the news. Obviously, just a huge shout-out, first of all, to obviously the new merch and stuff. Only got a few left at the moment in terms of the you got Rocks in Your Head shirts. So if you want to get them by Christmas, go ahead, quickly message the page. If you message me the page, and let me know what's from the podcast you've been listening to, I'll throw in one of those League of Inches polo shirts as well, just for a Christmas present. So getting quickly, I've got a couple of mediums and a couple of larges, I think, left. So if you fit those sizes and you're interested, message the page. I'll get them sent out to you. And the second lot announcement is the raffle side of things. That's still going. It's got about a week and a half to go till it finishes. Still, it's a very realistic chance at the moment, guys, that you can win. It's only $5 a ticket, either the New South Wales or the Queensland jersey, or you can put tickets into both. It's up to you. Great thing, once again, for Christmas time. I'll have it sent out to the winner for to be there in time for Christmas as well. I'll send to you guys that Monday morning as soon as it's been drawn and won. So go ahead, go get onto that and make sure you get your entries in, because it's a really, really good prize. And if we can get a few people keen for this one, we can keep going and continue on. So let's get cracking. I've got Jesse, Trav, and Jake along for the ride for this one. Tell you what, we'll speak it off air. In the first week of December, Christmas lights are well and truly up. The Christmas trees are up. Everything's done. But this great game of ours has not slept at all and is not ready for this Christmas break yet. So plenty of news to discuss. It's actually quite a big schedule. So we'll get through it. We'll get everyone's opinion as we go. The first one, boys, Laurie Daly officially announced as New South Wales coach. We discussed a bit about this last week. Now it's official. It's a 2-year deal. Plenty of discussion out there around if he's the right man for the job, if the people like it, who it should be. Support staff, it seems to be basically the same support staff as last year. John Cartwright's gone over to Super League. That's a bit of a loss in my opinion. And Craig Bellamy is sort of a coaching director, I guess, in a way as well. Jesse, I'll throw to you first, the passionate Blues fan. Happy about Laurie Daly?
I can't say I am, to be honest. It screams a bit of desperation just to fill that side, I think. But look, he's got a pretty bad record, 1 in 5, 6 wins out of 15. In a side where he was pretty well expected to win those series too. So it's not promising, but look, you never know. It's a different team now. Madge did quite well with him last year, and I suppose he didn't have a great deal of expectation around himself either. So never know, man. Really never know. But I just don't. Yeah, I'm not inspired by it. I feel they've just gone back to. In a way, I think maybe they went back to a bit of safety, but it wasn't a very successful tenure. So, yeah, not for me.
Jake, I'll go to you next. What about your initial thoughts around this one?
I want to give him a second chance, to be honest with you. And I want to just ask Jesse something based on what he said, because I might be wrong on this, but I thought, you said they were expected to win when he was coach. Wasn't that when we were versing like GI, Slater, Thurston, Smith, all those boys? Wasn't that during that?
There was one series where I'm pretty sure Queensland were just decimated. They went up in the first game. I think they were up in the second game at halftime, and then they threw it away, and then they lost in the third game.
Okay, so maybe besides that one series, other than that, we were versing probably the greatest Queensland side of all time, right? To be honest with you, and the teams that we were putting out there potentially weren't that strong. But who else was there at the time? I don't know. I'm willing to give him a second chance, is all I'm saying, because I don't know. I feel like with the team that's out there now, it could almost be picking the right people makes the difference, and that's it. So not that, I'm not saying that's all a Blues coach does, but that makes a big difference, I'd say.
No, I'm in the same boat. I'm keen to see how it goes. I'm not going to hold my breath and say it's the new savior. He's coming for his second coming, but
I was much more excited about Madge.
Yeah, so was I.
Yeah.
Oh, here's what it is.
Trav, you're sitting there very smugly. Wipe that look off your face. Why such smugness?
Oh no, because even you Blues fans even argue amongst yourselves. Like, look at it. Jake calling out Jesse for his comment around that they were expected to win. Like, you Blues guys got no idea. Seriously, none.
Come on. What are your thoughts around it?
I'm glad Jake actually asked you that question, Jesse, because wasn't it only like a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about candidates for the show, or maybe Jesse, you weren't on it, but we were talking candidates for the show not so long ago, and Laurie Day was pulled up, and I think everyone said how that he deserved another chance because he came up against the best Queensland team, multitudes of Hall of Fame and immortal guys and all sorts of things, and everyone sort of went, yeah.
Look, it was a good Queensland side, but I think you got to find a way. Like, he got belted 50-something to 6 or whatever. Like, that's a drubbing. Like, you put anyone else in the same shoes, they're probably going to get belted the same way. But I don't know. Is it just the time? Like, do you have to just go, oh, well, you got flogged, obliterated. Let's just give you another go in case it was just a one-off year. Like,
you hell bent on 1 year when they got flogged.
Yeah, well, got
every year for
4 out of 5.
9 years in a row.
Exactly.
I'd love to go through the teams that you could have picked back then and have Jesse go through and pick the teams that would have beaten that Queensland side. Because that Queensland side was just,
it wouldn't have mattered. My opinion, pretty.
It wouldn't.
Shit
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it would.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have mattered who the coach was and who the team was. I just don't think we were beating them when they had those players on the field. They just had a stacked side for a long time.
So we just go back to what we knew was shit. Hope it's
different. Who else were you going to pick? See, the thing is,
who else is there? We spoke about this last week.
And what's wrong with picking Laurie Daly? Like, I'm a Queensland supporter. I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not worried about it I don't think he's going to be a masterstroke. I don't think he's going to do what Maguire did. But at the end of the day, Maguire has set the foundation, has set the standard for him. I think anyone can sort of step in and go here and just take the reins. I don't think Laurie Daly's going to be a bad problem for you all, and I think you should just calm down a little bit and just and let it go, because I think he'll be fine. And as Jake has said, and as we've been talking around, he came up against a bulk load of immortals, and have fun trying to pick a team to try and beat that consistently. I don't think it was his fault. Sometimes there's not much you can do.
I can understand where both sides of this argument are heading and the points they're making. What I will say on the matter is, whether they were a star-studded team or not, it feels like we've gone back to a dark past for the Blues that I don't know if a lot of fans wanted to go back to. Whether they were a star-studded team or not, we were almost given no hope to win the series that we just had, and Maguire found a way to win that and play some mind games with Billy Slater. So you could almost argue that Daly ran out of answers and showed that he wasn't up to that level for coaching. That's a different way of looking at it. My actual way I want to go about this is, he's got Craig Bellamy as his helper now. My question is to the board. We all know Craig Bellamy and his type of person. He's not going to be able to sit back and just go, oh, yeah, no, you do it. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's one of the most passionate blokes there is about whatever it is he's doing. I don't know why we just didn't give him the job. He's going to be there. He's going to be able to be hands-on with this. I don't know what's going to happen when the game's actually going, because he's going to be in the coach's box trying to sit probably in the back of the thing, probably moving everywhere, riding every way of every play. Why didn't we just name Craig Bellamy as the coach? That's clearly the plan. Whether he retires next year, the year after, whenever it is, he's going to step into that role and be the coach for probably a 10 to 15-year period. Why didn't we just do it now? The Storm have the quality to allow that, I feel like, in my opinion. He can balance the two jobs up. He's going to be very hands-on as a coaching director.
How good would Billy Slater versus Craig Bellamy in the coach's box be, to be honest?
With Cam Smith as an assistant.
I'd love that.
Mate,
that'd be pretty bad.
That's what I mean, though. Like, I don't know. It's I just feel like that I would have given. I'm with Jesse a bit. I'm not confident with the Laurie Daly selection. The problem was it didn't feel like there was many standout candidates apart from, now, if he's been a part of it, Craig Bellamy for mine is the standout option. Like, just give him the role.
It's a matter of time, really, for Bellamy, isn't it? You just feel like it's coming.
Like, we've got him on the ropes, I feel like, in a bit. We've had the mind games. We won the mind games this year. Stick with the kill. Stick with the kill. I don't know if Laurie has that instinct in him, but again, that's just our opinion. So let us know what you think. Also, on that, the Brisbane Broncos, okay, we're stepping away from Ben Hunt. That's finished. That's done. We celebrated that last week. Now, the Blake Mozer camp, the young hooker, isn't too happy, apparently, and wants to shop himself around. Jake, Blake Mozer, would you want him at your club? And does this Ben Hunt signing for the Broncos become a bit of a hindrance? Because I tell you what, if I was them, I'd rather keep Blake Mozer every day of the week than sign Ben Hunt for 2 years.
Well, to answer your first question, which I felt there's a reason you targeted me, and that's okay. I love it. Yes, I think I would love to have him at the club at the Eels. I think, while I do think that Brendan Hands is quality, I'd love to have some backup hooker options that aren't Joey Lussick. That'd be fantastic. And as for the Broncos themselves, I mean, look, it's a tough one, I suppose, because depends on what they've signed Ben Hunt for. If they've signed him to be playing in that halves role, like for Ezra Mann, well, then they're getting about 6 months out of him before then he stirs the pot with Blake Mozer there. So I don't know. You don't want to lose your young up and coming superstars for a 35-year-old. That's just basic. That's just basic business. But I don't know. They must have a plan. They can't have done it for no reason, unless you'd hope that they're not just doing it for the storyline of big homecoming kind of thing. Like surely they kind of just done all that just for that one thing. And Blake Mozer has every right to sort of feel a bit miffed by it, to be honest.
Tell you what, Trav, in my opinion, for this to work out, if they do lose Mozer, the Broncos would want to make sure they win the comp in the next 2 years to make this decision worthwhile.
Yeah, and they do, and you're right. And as I said to you, and as everyone's already realised, that the signing of Ben Hunt's going to have a domino effect through the club, and here's one of them. And as you said just before, you're about to lose, well, potentially going to, and even then I'll take another step back, all the signs are saying that he's very much wanting out because of what's happening. You're about to lose one superstar. What doesn't make sense is that everything that I've read about this guy is linking him to a very, very similar player to Cam Smith. At any time, if you've got someone who wants to be linked or can be linked to one of the best players to ever play the game, even at such a young age, and you're about to lose him because you just signed a 35-year-old to about a $500,000 contract, it just screams stupidity to me. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. And the signing of Ben Hunt made no sense at the time. We all got it, but it just didn't make sense. And we knew there was going to be a roll-on effect, and here's the first one of them. And it's just going to continue with the dominoes with Stags and Cobbo and the like. And I'd be very surprised if they find a way to keep them both. Both of those two dudes do not deserve to take pay cuts. So they're too good at their spots, have too much potential. So, there's going to be a whole big roll-on effect of what's going to happen. And, yeah, it makes no sense. The other thing, too, about this is what makes no sense to me about this signing even more so is that Ben Hunt has said and has made by his actions more and more and more that he doesn't want to play hooker. So, yeah, this sign is coming out to say that when Ezra Mann comes back and if Reynolds stays healthy, he's going to go to hooker. Well, did you really sign Ben Hunt to play hooker? Really? Is that really what you wanted? That was one of the last things the Brisbane Broncos needed, and now you're about to lose Blake Mozer. Yeah, makes no sense to me. If I was Blake Mozer, I'd be on the way out and say, yep, stick it up. I'm out.
Jesse, the Roosters are another club for mine that just sticks out straight away if this kid becomes available. And straight away, I can think of like 4 or 5 clubs off the top of my head who would be almost all in on this kid and would give him 5 years straight away and go, almost give us your figure that you want. It's just seeming like a very risky signing all of a sudden, this Ben Hunt one.
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen too. Like we spoke about it. It puts too many players in the same positions. Like if he is going to play hooker, all of a sudden Mozer, essentially he's going to be the 4th choice. Because you got Pakes, you got Walters, and well, there's another one. So you got even more. So it's like he's leaving, man. There's no way he's hanging about after that. I feel like he's got the right to feel hard done by it too, unless they come out and say, look, we really want to keep you long term. You're going to get a start or you're going to be right up in there. I just don't feel like he's going to hang about for that. I just don't think it's worth it for him, considering, the demand and what people are expecting out of him. So, yeah, if the Roosters do go in for him, happy days. I'll take that, considering they need a hooker. quality hookers, they're hard to come by. They really are, and there's not too many hyped ones at the moment. So, yeah, no, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. But yeah, I don't see him lasting too much longer. And I think, yeah, Trav's right. He won't be the first one to go. There'll be more. And the Broncos will probably realize that they shot themselves in the foot because it's all going to be very short term, very short sighted. And to Jake's point, I actually genuinely think it is a homecoming for Ben Hunt. I think they just did it for the spectacle, the show, and just to band-aid patch fix the little Ezra Mam and Adam Reynolds problem that they'll have in this next year or two. And they maybe didn't really think of the consequences, and it's going to be very, very bad.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a Band-Aid sign. The more you look at it now after the week that's happened and all the fanfare around it originally, seeing Ben Hutton back in a Broncos jersey, things like that. And now it just, it's if you lose Blake Mozer, I'm sorry to say, but it's become a very, very poor signing unless, as I said earlier, they can somehow win the comp in the next 2 years. If they can do that, well done to them. They've achieved what they have. But then again, I've got no doubt if Blake Mozer leaves the club within 3 years or so, there'll be stories going, how about the Broncos letting this kid go? And it'll be just egg on their face type thing. The Dragons, it's rumored, no confirmation yet, but it was very heavily rumored and almost confirmed by multiple sources that Dan Atkinson has signed with the club for 2026, St. George Illawarra Dragons. Tell you what, this was rumored, and then once the Ilias signing happened, I sort of thought, oh, that's probably kills that signing. And then all of a sudden, from nowhere, it's been announced. And again, it's been pretty much confirmed, it feels like, by multiple media sources, just not by the club yet. I like the signing. I like Dan Atkinson as a player. I really do rate him. And I think it's going to be one that the Sharkies regret losing in the long term. But Trav, I'll throw to you first for this one. The Dan Atkinson to the Dragons. Rate it?
Yeah, definitely do. And what it does is it also creates competition for spots. So, and Flanagan's got some big choices to make, and he's got Ilias, he's got his own boy, and now he's got Atkinson, and I think Atkinson is the number one there, and it's the other two fighting for that 5'8" spot. That's a no-brainer to me, and I like.
Go on. Sorry.
It says that I'm muted. Am I still muted?
Not anymore. No, you're good.
Oh, yeah. So now he's just muted himself. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Oh, no. So one thing I really like is competition for spots. I really like that. And I think in any sport, in any position, in any way, a club that's got a competition for spots is a better club. When players don't have to sit there and feel like they're on the outer or because they don't perform, I think you've got a problem. So I think the Dragons have really got a good problem now. And I think those three boys, they're all young still. We spoke last week about what they've got out of Flanagan and Ilias and I suppose the unfairness, but that they had in their past in terms of the roles and where they were at. They had an opportunity. Well, now they've still got that opportunity, but they're just going to have to fight for it, and not only fight for it, but perform and keep it there. I like Atkinson. I think Atkinson showed when the team's his this year, he can really step in. I reckon Atkinson played better than Trindle did at that time, and then and was the better player in terms of how he led the Sharks around the pack when he filled in for Hines. And then obviously Hines took back over, and I think that then showed the Sharks that Trindle was the man to give the ball to, and I think that was the role and effect of what Atkinson had. So that's how good I think Atkinson is, and I think the Dragons are onto a winner there with that 3.
The interesting part about all this, the Atkinson signing at the moment is for 2026. We all know what this sort of happens here. They'll be asking for releases, I feel like, in no time and to make things happen. The even more funny side to this is Kyle Flanagan is actually out of contract at the end of this year as well. So, funnily enough, the dad has a big decision to make because Ilias and Atkinson could easily be the halves for 2026. And you could almost say if that relationship wasn't their father-son, then Kyle Flanagan, obviously, off you go, see you later. But now that relationship's there, makes it a bit harder, in my opinion. And it's sort of like trying to fit the 3 into the 2 could be an issue. Jesse, what do you think about the signing?
I do like Atkinson. I think he's a fantastic player. I don't like when players, tentatively sign for contracts 2 years down the line. I just don't think it puts them in the right space for the now. I think because his commitment's not going to be there, but admittedly, like he's behind Trindle and Hines, and I don't think, unless barring injury, I don't think he's going to make himself in that spot at all. Unfortunately, because I think he deserves it. But yeah, like it's going to put the pressure on Flanagan and Ilias to basically perform this year because they're going to be fighting for a starting spot because Atkinson will walk straight into that team. So Flanagan will be fighting for the position and a contract at the same time. And yeah, Ilias, they've signed him for a reason. I think they've signed him for that sort of long term. They plan on having Ilias there for it anyway. So yeah, I think you're probably right, Trav. I think it probably will be Ilias and Atkinson when it does come back around to 26, but it's a bit rough, I suppose. What do you do when it's your son? Do you sort of have to, you feel almost obliged in a way, but you can't. You got to separate yourself from that. So no, he's good, man. He's really good. And I think, the Dragons are building something quite well when they get him in there. And if it all does come through and it's definitely confirmed, you got to think that they're going to start making a push for it. The Dragons half stocks have been pretty shit for a while. Like there's not many. They don't have depth there, like they lost Hunt and all of a sudden it's like, geez, you can't even fill that spot at all. So three is fair. 3 is plenty. It's enough competition. There's enough rotation and you give yourself a bit of a safety net in general, but no, I think you'll do really well there. I think the Sharks have lost someone quite talented.
Jake, do you echo those thoughts, or you got some thoughts of your own?
I got big raps on Atkinson. I do. I think that this year, if we look at this year alone, I think he played better than Hines. This is my out there call, but I think he played better overall when he was on than when Hines was on that park for the Sharks. But I think they need to get him over this year. If I'm being completely honest with you, I think that they need to try and somehow haggle away to get him across this year because I don't see a year where Ilias and Flanagan together as their pairing is successful. I see a spoon in their horizon. That's the way I see it. One thing I disagree with both of you two, though, to be honest with you, is I disagree that if I was going to pick a halves combination when Atkinson comes in, Ilias goes over Flanagan. I'd pick Flanagan and Atkinson. Atkinson to run it, like run the park, and Flanagan to be more that sort of 5'8" role, I reckon, personally. But that's my thoughts.
I say Atkinson is the 5'8".
Either one works. I'm actually okay with either, to be honest, as long as the other one steps back.
Interesting. Yeah, I agree what you're saying, though. They need to push to make this happen immediately. And I feel like in a way it might happen. The Sharkies have someone like Cade Dykes, who is more of a fullback, but I feel like could step up in the halves if he was needed to next year. He's got some big raps on him as well. Who knows? That money could be better spent for the Sharkies elsewhere if they free up Atkinson's money as well. But again, we've seen how good Atkinson was at running a team this year and big raps. And as I said, it'll be a huge loss, I reckon, for the Sharkies whenever that does end up happening. For the Bunnies, apparently they're rumoured to be hot favourites now to land the signature of John Bateman. Obviously, there's been a saga there between him and the Tigers for a while now, almost a Mexican standoff. He doesn't want to go back to training. The Tigers don't want him at training. Ended up going back to Super League midway through last year just to get some runs under the belt. I have no idea what the hell is going on with this. I don't know why clubs are even going in the market for John Bateman still, in my opinion. I think he's done. He had a great patch with the Raiders, but obviously things didn't happen there and fell away quite sourly basically there. And I'm just gobsmacked at the fact that clubs are still going in on this guy. Jake, do you think this could be a great signing for the Bunnies, or do you just think it's time that Bateman goes to Super League, stay there, finish your career?
Well, it seems like the guy's always homesick. He comes over here, he plays a few games, he plays either well when he was for the Raiders. He played really well when he was for the Raiders. Everyone was talking about him, and Jesse would know from Supercoach that he was an absolute freak. Mm-hmm. But if you're talking about when he was at the Tigers, what's he done? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. To be fair, neither did the Tigers in general, but he went across and then that's all that was. I think he said, when have you ever heard of another player going home to finish off a season at another club and then coming back the next year after that? It doesn't happen. There's something that's gone wrong there, and he's wanted to get away from that. Like, that doesn't happen. It's not a thing. So if he wants to go back, he should just go back. That's the way I see it. To be fair, Wayne Bennett being who he is, okay, if anyone's going to get him to fighting form, it's probably Wayne. So I don't think it's an impossible dream to see him coming back to that Raiders form. I don't think it's out of the question. But at the same time, why take the risk when he's probably going to want to walk away halfway through the season?
Jesse, there just seems to be a stigma around John Bateman.
There is.
Stench.
He's a grub, but he's a bloody good player. I think he fits in well at the Rabbits, man. I don't think they need him realistically. I think they could probably, give Tallis Duncan a good run and get him in there because he's well and truly ready for it. But look, you can't go wrong with him. Honestly, I feel like every club needs a Bateman. And the Rabbitohs are definitely a Bateman-esque kind of club. And yeah, you're right. Like, Wayne Bennett's going to wrangle him in. And if he wants to leave, he'll probably slap him about and say, don't waste my time. Get out there and actually play some footy or piss off.
Can you explain that?
Right.
Can you explain that sentence? Everybody needs a Bateman. Everybody needs a Bateman. I want to know what that means.
You do. You don't want to roll
What do
over.
you mean by that,
up
though?
in everyone's faces.
Oh, I see. Like an aggressive
He's a nasty motherfucker, man. He's a horrible thing. You can see every single time. And look, you see watch for the Tigers, and it's Reid Marnie's the same. You know what I mean? Reid Marnie gets up in everyone's.
He goes
and
too
you're
far.
like,
Reid.
God,
Reid goes too far. Personally.
Yeah, and so does Bateman. And you think, look, this guy is just nasty. He's a piece of work. But look, the Rabbits have had a good history of Englishmen, man. And I just know there's something about it. I feel like I can see him there, and I feel like he'd be pretty good. It almost enticed me super coach wise as well. So there's just something about it. I don't know. Just it lets it off. So yeah, I don't think they need him. I don't think you really want that sort of toxicity about it if he does go south and he does get homesick again. But I don't think they can do wrong if he's playing well.
You raise a bit of a good point there because if I'm Tallis Duncan and this does happen, I'm going straight to my manager and I'm saying, let's start looking because he just honestly needs game time. He needs to be 60 odd minutes plus at the moment, I reckon, week in, week out. We keep hearing about him the last 2 years now, and it looks like he's such a quality player. If they sign Bateman now, and this is another roadblock for him, go and get a new start. Go and find somewhere else that you can get those guaranteed minutes, in my opinion. Trav, can you be the voice of reason, please? Because I'm starting to get a bit worried. I feel like Jake and Jesse are going to start punching on in the screen or something. So please.
Yeah, I mean,
there's a bit of tension. I can feel it in my plume.
He's asking lots of questions to Jesse, a young fella, Jake.
You are calling me out.
He's hot on his tail. I really like the idea of Bateman going to the Rabbitohs. There's the Rabbitohs no doubt had a real lack of forward pack punch this year. Like their forward pack didn't really do much at all. And Bateman can easily and comfortably support that. You've got Kula-Matangi, you've got Murray, and you've got Arrow, who are more than likely Origin boys. So Bateman sits in for those types of periods of time. You've got Ewan Aikens arrived this year. I can't speak highly enough around what Bateman can provide. And even if he does come in for 40 or 50 minutes for what he does, I think we also, let's not understate how bloody good Bennett is as a coach, which we all know he is, and what he can do with him. But then also, Bennett and him have a relationship when Bennett coached England. And that was when Bateman was a superstar, or coming through the ranks as a superstar. And guess who was his coach in England? Is Bennett. So there's that tie there as well. So if there's anyone in the competition, other than maybe Bellamy, that can pull a person into line like that, it's Bennett without the relationship. Bennett's got the relationship in the past. I think this is a great pickup if this happens. It's going to cost them a fair bit, but I think the Tigers said that they were happy to pay. I think they want to pay or happy to pay it. So, because he signed a 4-year deal at the start of 2023, so he's only halfway through it. So he's still got 2 years to go. So if he does get up and go, I think the Tigers, from what I saw, have said that they would pay a certain chunk of it. So, yeah, I don't see the risk. To me, I don't think it's a risk. I think Bennett can fix that risk at the Rabbitohs anyways. And I think there's enough people in the Rabbitohs team that Jesus, they deal with the Latrell issues all the time and all the things that he puts into scandals, and they manage that pretty well. And there's still the random Bunnies fan that turns up to every NBA event or somewhere over in the world. There's still a random Bunnies fan. So they still come around. So, yeah, I think this is – I think Bateman's not going to be the least of their worries.
I believe that's why the Mexican standoff is still happening, because they're trying to work out who puts in what for the rest of his contract. And I think the Tigers don't want to budge on a certain figure, but who knows what that normally ends up getting resolved at some point. I'm just a bit, honestly, I'll call you both out as well, because Jake, I'm on your side here. I don't think I've seen John Bateman play well for 3 years. I think this is one of those signings where he's getting signed on old form, previous form that hasn't been seen for quite some time now. And it just feels like Wayne Bennett only has so much magic dust. He can't keep sprinkling it. He's got to run out. There's got to be a time where Wayne Bennett's magic dust runs out. And it's just, I just don't know if this is a signing that they need to make. It's not going to be that one that elevates him to mine to be a premiership winner or contender. I just think it has more risk than reward, this signing. I don't get it. I really don't. I hate it.
You don't like it? Yeah.
I hate it.
You got it. Sometimes when somebody plays for the Tigers, you have to sign them on old form.
I don't know if I could go.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I'm glad you
on
said
Tigers form.
That is a pretty good point.
Yeah, Panthers didn't sign Isaiah Papali'i for what he did at the Tigers. You did.
And I don't know how you can say, like, I don't think he wasn't atrocious, or the way that you spoke about him then. Hasn't played a good game in 3 years was your statement just then, Joel. And I don't think, I don't think he was really bad this year. He just, again, played for the Tigers for a coach who I just don't think he can even coach yet.
I've got a, oh, sorry.
So go, Jake.
I've got a fair few Tigers mates. Like, I'm friends with a lot of Tigers fans, and what I will say to this, they are, yes, except for this, they are happy to get rid of him. They want him gone. They want him out of the club. So forever, and I've talked to a lot of them, and a lot of them
3 years that have been the worst team that probably ever play the game. Like, come on.
I know, but I'm saying a lot of them are. They got
bigger problems with Bateman.
I get that, but some of them are like vehemently, like they hate him with a passion. They're like, this is one of the best things to happen to the club. They want him out real bad. So I don't know if that speaks to anything, but
you know what? He's a polarizing figure, mate. I'm pretty sure there was a lot of Raiders people that wanted him out too, and he was their best forward by far when he was there for him. So, you know, he can be a gun and still be hated by his fans.
Fair call.
I think even after good string and good performances together, there would have been Tigers fans that still would have been like, just get out of here. I don't care how good you are, just get out. So, I don't know. I feel like that, and for that reason, he'll suit the Rabbits.
Yep.
I feel like that the final thing with this, what I guess is good for the Rabbits, they're not paying full freight. So I understand the Tigers' frustration side of things. They're paying him top dollar, and he hasn't been producing in many people's eyes. Where for the Rabbits, they'll be getting him for $200,000 less. Probably a bit of a bargain buy if he can produce some kind of form and Wayne Bennett magic dust. And it turned out to be a great signing for them for the next couple of years. So, we'll just see what happens there. Trav, throwing to you for this one, because one of your amazing depth players, Jonah Pezzett, I believe we've spoken about him in the past, but the Knights have reportedly now offered him a 4-year deal worth $2.5 million. I believe this is for 2026 as well, but who knows what happens. Normally the Storm are pretty locked in with this sort of stuff, and if they're contracted, they'll keep him there. So I don't think this would be one where they can push for an early release. We've seen it where they've held on to players in the past. They're gunning for a premiership next year, so they'll want that depth there to cover for the likes of Munster and Hughes. But for the Knights, they're in desperate need, in my opinion, in a funny way, for a halve, because they just can't get anything right. They've already got about 6 on their books, but they just can't get them right. And Pezzet's obviously a Knights kid. He came up in that system. By reports, he does want to go home in a way. And I guess $2.5 million also helps that decision. As a Storm fan, are you a bit worried about this one? Any heads up for Jonah, I guess?
Look, I wouldn't say I'm worried. I don't like it. I don't want to lose him, but we're in a salary cap era. We've got you can't pay everybody. We're going to have to try and pay some blokes in the next couple of years to try and keep them beyond 2026, which we've spoken about to nth degree in past pods. He's one that I would like to keep. And would be a really good replacement for a Mozer in a couple of years. But again, look, this is a signing for 2026, so he's only going to be with us for 2025. And Munster's on the books till the end of 2027, if I can remember rightly. So, we're going to have to lose someone. We will lose someone. I don't want to lose him, but yeah, I mean, money talks. 4 years, 2.5 mil. It's a big offer for a very young fella who's missed the whole year this year with a bad injury. So if I was him, I'd be taking that, and money talks, and he deserves to make the money and take it. But yeah, look, he's one of the conversations, and it's funny that I say this after what I've said already, but for the other ones, but he's also one that has the talent that we haven't quite seen yet. So you're taking a really big risk here by paying a young fella at that much money for 4 years, who hasn't really shown, other than in the origin periods and things when Months has been out, that he's got this talent. So, yeah, all to him. Good luck for it. He deserves the money because he's been offered it. But, yeah, and I'm a bit disappointed, but it is what it is. The Knights bloody need someone like him. So,
yeah, I feel like it'd be a great signing for the Knights. For the Storm point of view, I actually feel like Tyrone Wishart's overtaken him in the pecking order anyway for this year. So as much as it would be a bit of a loss, I don't think it's worth keeping him for any kind of extra money to ensure he's there for 3 years down the track, because I'd be putting more of those eggs into Wishart's basket. Jesse, what about your opinion about this whole sort of thing?
Yeah, look, he's not going to make a start anytime soon over Munster or Hughes, and Wishart's obviously jumped him in the queue. So, yeah, look, man, if you can secure 2.5 and a 4-year deal where he'll be a basically guaranteed starter, I think it's in both parties' best interest. I think the
and
Storm
be at home.
Yeah, and go home too. So it's like, look, the Storm, thanks for everything you've done. You've been a great player, great depth. Let him go, let him spread his wings, basically, and the Knights will get themselves a great player, and he'll make himself a shitload of money. So, I see it going well for everyone, really, and it's probably a good thing for him. But I don't know what the Knights are doing, man. I really don't know what the Knights are doing. Like, they've got, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if they're still there. You'll have to cut in or not. But Hastings,
I'll double check as you talk. I'll check the contracts.
So we got Hastings, Gamble, Cogger, Will Price, and I think there's one or two more as well that they've got floating about. So, look, Pezzet's good. We've seen Pezzett shine in moments as well, but he hasn't strung anything long-term together. So it's all sort of, you're going off the small sample size. And if they're looking for this revelation halfback that's going to come in and save them, it's a lot of money to spend on someone who hasn't done a great deal more. Like, it's the talent's there, but they're taking the risk. They're taking the chance that they're going to be what they expected Cogger and Price and Gamble and all these other guys to do what hasn't happened. So, yeah, the Knights are a funny group.
I'll let you keep going, but just quickly. So Will Price is out of contract at the end of 2025, so next year. Gamble's got until the end of 2026. Phoenix Crosland, end of 2026. Jackson Hastings at the end of next year. He's finished. And Jack Cogger, 2026 as well. So, yeah,
it fits in all right. It doesn't fit. That doesn't fit in too bad now when you think about it. He's not signed until 2026.
Well, that makes sense, because then I suppose they can just use the next year and a bit to go, who are we keeping? And they will be partnering Pezzett if they do that. So, yeah, they won't have 6 halves on their books by the time Pezzett comes around. So, yeah, it doesn't seem so bad, really, considering that. But
the bad part for mine, and I don't know if it's a fair question, but I just feel like in regards to recruitment, and I'll even label the Ponga signing, I'm not afraid to go on record for this, I just think they continue to pay overs for players, and it can get them into some serious trouble. And we've seen it with Hastings now. Like, they've tried to get rid of Hastings now for almost a year. No one wants him because of the ridiculous contract they've put him on. And it just feels like, in a way, like, Yet this guy is a super young talent coming through the grades who had massive reps on him last year, like 2023. He's had a horrible injury, as explained by Trav. I don't know off the top of my head how many clubs would be actively in the market for him at the moment either. I feel like a lot of clubs at the moment, in terms of their halves and stuff, are sitting quite well in a weird sort of way. So I just don't know if you need to go out and straight away throw 2.5 at the kid, knowing he is a junior. There's been talks, whether it's true or not, that he's kind of homesick and does want to go back. Surely he'd be able to get him for a bit cheaper than 2.5. That's what, six and a bit 100,000 for 4 years. That just seems a bit excessive, Jake. Like the Knights I don't know, they just keep getting themselves in a bit of trouble, and I'm a bit concerned with them moving forward in terms of just their makeup of this whole salary cap stuff.
He's another kid that, again, I have massive raps on, and I first of all will lead by saying I don't think that he's worth what they've got him for. I'll start that off with that. But he's the type of player where I struggle to figure out whether because when he's played for the Storm, every time he's been on the field, I've always thought, wow, this guy is going to go somewhere. He's good, right? Every single time I've ever watched him play, and don't get me wrong, I don't watch a lot of Storm games if the Eels aren't versing them. But when I have watched him play, the guy's really good. Okay.
He's gone.
However, he's one of those people, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me, that it's hard to tell whether he's good due to the fact that he's in the right system, or he's good due to the fact that he's good. I'm not denying that he's good, right? He has talent, but will he work in a different team that isn't so rigid and follows the same, like the processes that the Storm do? Who knows? And so for the Knights to go and throw that money at him, and like you said, Joel, that they have got heaps of money in Ponga and in all these other places, and I know that they'll drop off. I think we can all be honest. They'll drop off Hastings. They'll probably keep, I'd imagine, Cogger, and they'll probably get rid of what's the other one?
Gamble.
Thank you, Gamble. I'd say they're the two they'll drop off. Let's be completely honest here. I think we will probably agree with that. So you're probably looking at that combination of Cogger, Pezzett, which, to be honest with you, I actually think a young halves combo, but both, touted to be pretty good, could look quite good. I think it really would look good, but I think you're right that they definitely could have gone in for cheaper. That seems like they've gone in, like they're thinking that everyone else is circling him, and I think that they've completely misinterpreted his value. But other than that, I think that he is a good signing and he will do well.
The other point to this, and he is out of contract at the end of this year, Will Price, Jesse and Trav, one of you jump in here. I still feel like I have some raps on Will Price, and we haven't got to see him play some consistent football. I personally would be this year going Cogger and Price as my halves for the Newcastle Knights to start the year and just see how that goes. And I would love to see what Will Price has got. He's young. He's similar of age, I believe, to Pezzett. I don't know off the top of my head that, but hopefully that's what Travis on the ball to now. But I just can't. For me, this figure, I just can't get my head off this figure while you've got someone like a Will Price there. Like it's in a way, it feels like they're similar sort of players where Will Price has I know a lot of it's been Super League related and playing in those juniors. It's a different competition. I get that. But there's something about Will Price. I would not be giving up on him yet if I was the Knights. I'd be thinking, hang on, we've still got a footballer here. Are you boys seeing that?
I feel like they haven't given him a chance.
Hmm.
They really haven't, and they just keep going back to the whole Hastings gamble thing when everyone's been screaming for Cogger and Price. We've spoken that many times about it over the last 12 months. It's just give them a run together consistently and let's see what they can actually do instead of going to the old way, which is so many times it has failed. And it makes the Knights so reliant on Ponga because there's just nothing else. They're so one-dimensional. So, man, if they do this whole Pezzett thing and they don't give Price a chance, then what's the whole point of getting him? Like, why was it worth his time at all to come this way? So, I'll let Trav have his thing if he looks like he's found something there, but yeah.
Oh, no, I just had some stats for you. He's 22 years old, so he's basically, he's a bit older than Pezzett. He played 5 games. Funny enough, in those 5 games, they won 4 of them, although in 2 of them, he only played 16 and 7 minutes. But the other 2 games against the Eels and the Raiders, he played 80 and they won. I agree totally. Like, he's only played 5 games in the shambles of the halves of what Coach O'Brien did. Coach Adam O'Brien did for the Newcastle Knights this year. and he still only played those 5 games. I think he got injured, didn't he? So I think he played the 3, and then it got injured. But then he was able to come back, and they just didn't bring him back until really late. So that didn't help. But why bring a dude over at that age from England and entice him to come over who's got good talent? From what I saw this year, he's got the talent there. He's ready to go. So, I really do give him the keys this year and say, off you go. And this is the problem that I think Adam O'Brien's had and Newcastle have had with guys like this, is that I think it's almost like this made to earn it too hard. It's just this really, really harsh way for players in the past to have to earn their spots. Just let the young fella play. They've got a need. They've got a really big need. So just let him go.
Jake, were you saying
you learn how to juggle? I said O'Brien needs to learn how to juggle because he doesn't know how to juggle his halves. Sorry, continue.
Were you saying you're not that big on Will Price?
Yeah, nothing I've seen out of him has made me go wow. But at the same time, he's young and he hasn't had much game time, so it's pretty hard for me to really go into that very far. I saw him in that game against the Eels, but to be fair, the Eels played like bastards that game, and that's the reason that he looked like he shined a little bit in that game. But to be honest, I don't think he did anything special. He kind of went through our poor defense in the middle when he scored. There was a try he scored, and he didn't do that much else in that game. But other than that, when I've seen him play, I haven't really kind of gone, oh, wow, he's fantastic. I think he definitely needs to work on his defense. But other than that, he's still a young kid, and he definitely has potential. I'm not saying that he doesn't. I just haven't seen much out of him in the times he said, like Trav said, he played a few minutes in those other 2 games. That's not, do you know what I mean? That's not giving me much to work off. What I've seen is that 80-minute Eels performance. I saw him against Raiders as well. We didn't knock my socks off. But he's a young kid and he could definitely improve. I'm not saying, like Jesse said, I think it was, why bring him across if you're not going to try and actually use him?
I hope if the Knights don't extend him, he gets another run at another NRL club and gets a couple of year contract, and we get to try and see just what he's got, because I do believe he's got something to really offer this game, and hope he goes to a team and a club that knows how to use him and lets him actually play to his style of game.
The South England Rabbitohs will probably be all over him.
Hey, Cody Walker's going to have to be retiring soon, surely. So that might work in quite well. Look out. I want to go around the table and just ask everyone, where do we see Leo Thompson landing? He's been back in the news. A couple of clubs are apparently ramping up discussions with him and in the line of sight for Leo Thompson. Jesse, where do you think Leo Thompson will be landing and why? You can also have re-signing with the Knights.
Just announce with the Dogs already and rip the Band-Aid off, please. Sick of hearing about it. I think the Dogs, I think they need him. I think he would be a good fit. I think they should just do it. I'd be interested to see what other clubs are in for him, because I haven't heard too many other ones besides them. But yeah, it seems like it's just never ending at this point.
Apparently Para are in for him. Apparently the Dragons are fairly keen as well. They're just 3 off the top of my head. Feels like the same 3 clubs that are often linked to any player at the last 3 or 4 months that have been off contract. So nothing really new there. And who knows? I've heard Your Mob has been linked to him slightly as well. So a few clubs around, just to name a few. And who knows? Once a couple of dominoes fall throughout maybe the preseason, there might be some other clubs, but it'll be too late by then. Trav, what club do you think Leo Thompson is landing at?
Can I just say for first point, what the hell are the Knights doing? Thompson is a freaking gun. He's so freaking good. And how is this conversation even a conversation? And how are the Knights sitting there just going, oh yeah, let's let everyone in the public have a conversation about our fucking amazing player in Leo Thompson.
Got the Raiders as well. We've got the Raiders.
Man, what are they doing? What are they doing? I would love him to come to the Storm. It won't happen, but I would love it. He's a freak. I just love him. I just think he's so good. He's so very good. And he's 24 years old. And I rate him so highly. I was just throwing in the Storm because I'd love him. But I would really like him to go to the Warriors. I think he would fit there really nicely. He's a Kiwi himself, so I think that homecoming would be good. But I do agree with what you were just saying before, Joel, that I actually thought that he was, and I read somewhere recently that he was almost a shoo-in for the Roosters, wasn't he? So that's what I had read recently, but I don't know how true that was. I think he goes there. I think the Roosters are just sitting. I said this last week on the news update. What are the Roosters doing? There has to be something, because we just don't. This is not the Roosters that we know, right? So there's got to be something brewing. Maybe this is what they're trying to do. Yeah, Moses. But maybe this is one of those, and he fits everything that's left that club. Like everyone that's left that club, he almost can fill every bloody spot. So, yeah, that's how much I like Leo Thompson. So I think the Roosters, and he fits there perfectly.
Jake?
I hate to be a parrot, but I love him. I think the guy's fantastic. He's a freak, and I'd love to see him come to the Eels. But, the fact that we're linked with him, gives me a flicker of hope. But I don't know. I didn't know he was 24. I thought he was older than that. So that actually surprised me a lot, because the guy has a work rate of a horse, and he just puts in work for ages, but he runs like a cannonball. Like he's just, I don't know. I fully agree with Trav. He's a weapon. I'd love to see him at the Eels, but I think he ends up with the Bulldogs, unfortunately, and I'd hate to see it. I also do agree, if he doesn't go to the Eels, I hope he goes to the Warriors, because I actually would love to see him and James Fisher-Harris link up in the props for them. That'd be terrifying.
Terrifying.
Hell would be.
That'd be real good.
And there's the new Bash brothers.
I do like seeing success at the Warriors, so I'd be okay with that. I could definitely live with that.
The other weird piece of this puzzle for the Knights, they've just signed his brother. So I don't know what is going on there, but that is just, you'd think if you've just signed the brother, you'd like the selling point would be come over, play with your brother there for a few years, like establish probably a front row pairing. I don't know too much about his brother, but I'm guessing he's a front row. I've seen pictures of him. He's a big boy. So imagine the two brothers of destruction basically for a few years, but looks like it's not going to happen. There hasn't even been rumors about him like wanting to extend at the Knights either. That's the funny thing here. Like it hasn't even been a flicker of hope, it feels like, to the Knights. They've just gone, oh, we've lost him, like see you later type thing. So I feel like realistically, it seems like the Dogs are slightly ahead. I completely agree with what Trav's saying about the Roosters though as well. Just have it. People are putting that together because of the May thing. They feel like May's been told to go because the Roosters have lined up Leo Thompson. Whether that's happened or not, I'm not too sure. Who knows? Maybe the next week, hopefully, we find out something that's happened here. My dark horse, I know it's going to be pretty tough, but they were heavily linked to him early on. The Raiders. Him and I think Papali'i is bound to obviously retire shortly. He hasn't got long left. Him back with Tarpany. Tarpany's obviously, I think they've got quite a close relationship with the Kiwis there. So that could be a flicker of hope for the Raiders to get him down there. If they got him, that'd be a huge signing. Them having the Kiwi front row. Obviously, James Fisher-Harris is part of that as well, but just another side of that. And that'd be a huge front row pairing as well. So Ricky might be able to get some sort of magic happening there in Canberra. I know it's a hard place to sell, but we'll see what happens. He's got Bondi or he's got Canberra. It's going to be a tough decision, Leo, so up to you. Last one of the night, and this was put onto our Instagram. So I did a poll, obviously off the back of the Tamika Upton news, and we just sort of said, do you want to hear a bit more NRLW news and stuff from our page? I've never once tried to be like a so-called analyst or expert around the NRLW. A few of us do watch it quite a lot, but also a few of us don't watch it often either. So you've all voted hugely to have NRLW part of the page a bit more. So I'm going to do a few more posts. I'm going to do where we can, any big news that sort of comes out, talk about it on a bit of a podcast here as well. So this week, Tamika Upton signs a 3-year deal with the Brisbane Broncos. It was already a stacked Broncos lineup. It has become even more stacked now with the signing of Tamika Upton. She will dead set play fullback. So that means Hayley Maddock will probably either go to the wing or who knows where. She might even have to depart the club. But who do I go for? I'll go Jessie first. Tamika Upton's back home, back where she started her career. Left the Knights. Weird things going on at the Knights again for now, the NRLW side of things. The poor club's been beaten up, getting copping punches left, right, and centre.
Yeah, well, she's a gun, and she's going back there, and they're probably going to win pretty comfortably this year coming. But look, it was 2 weeks ago she left on compassionate grounds, and all of a sudden she's signing for the Broncos. I feel like there has to be some sort of cool down on compassionate ground, because it's obviously compassionate. She wanted out. Well, there's a lot more to the story that we don't know yet. So, yeah, the Knights should feel pretty hard done by. They let her go with compassionate grounds, but whatever happened, and she's gone back home. So, look, she's going to do well. She's going to do really well, to be honest. I don't think there's any doubt in that one, and I think the Broncos kind of locked it up. So we'll see.
Yeah, there is some whispers floating around, but I will not comment, I guess, live on air about any of those whispers around potentially the reasons for leaving. Trav, Tamika Upton, she's a superstar of the NRLW. Clearly, it is a huge signing and a really good signing for the Broncos, who already have stars almost all over the park. It almost feels inevitable that as we get 2 new teams next year, the Broncos are very firm favourites and almost have one hand on that trophy already.
Oh, they've probably got 9 fingers on it, really. She's the look. I don't watch a lot of NRL. I do watch the odd game here or there where there's an NRL game that I'm not interested in, and they're on. And I do watch it with my girls. So as a girl dad that I am, to me, from what I know, she's the best player in the competition. She's easily gone to the best team in the competition. That team is loaded now. So I think the NRLW is not going to be all that interesting to watch next year. But because of it, Joel, Jesse, you sort of took the point I was going to go at. I don't like this compassionate grounds. And when I heard about this compassionate is a compassionate leave, or what did she want? A compassionate...
Just compassionate grounds.
Compassionate
grounds. So she wanted a contract. She wanted to be released on compassionate grounds. I hadn't heard that before, other than in teaching industry. And I
has family in Brisbane. So.
The more, she does, and the more and more I read about it, the more and more I don't like it in sports, and so it just screams to me garbage. And so I really, really want to know. I think everyone deserves to know what happened. I think the Knights fans particularly deserve to know how someone can be released on compassionate grounds. The Knights get nothing for it out of somewhat through her. What part of her contract was she in? She was only halfway or something. So
halfway, 2 more years to go.
Yeah, and she's been released. Knights get nothing for it, and then 2 weeks later she signs. It just screams to me as dodgy. I don't like it. Sports is different. You sign contracts, you know what you've got. You're signing for these dollars. Yeah, I don't like it at all. At this point in time, I'll preface this without knowing the reasons, and I haven't heard any of those whispers. But she's a freak.
But the Knights. And just correct me if I'm wrong here, with compassionate grounds, that's their choice. They can say no if it's not unless it's for a particular reason, like you were saying.
Oh, like they can have fun saying no. Yeah.
No, like because from what I'm aware, I'm aware.
It's written in their rules and bylaws of compassionate grounds in the women competition is a very valid reason to release a contract. It's written in there. I did a bit of research in the last couple of days once I heard this to figure out what all this meant. Have fun saying no.
It's just the signing so soon. It's signing so soon with the Broncos. Yep. It's like it had to have been already on the cards for it.
Oh, they would have been. She definitely didn't go for a compassionate transfer and then just start talking to the Broncos.
Can't you claim compassionate grounds for like being homesick? A lot of people have said stuff like that before. Like,
you can. Just up to the club how they want to treat it all. Like, and to put this quickly into NRL perspective for those that don't follow the game too closely, just thinking, what the hell are you boys talking about? So this would be the equivalent to Kalen Ponga at this time of the year for the Knights going, I'm out. I want to go back to Townsville. I want to go back to the Cowboys, and I'm done. Like that's the equivalent. That's how good Tamika Upton is. That's how critical she is for this Knights team, and how big of a star she is just in terms of the NRLW.
With 2 years
left. So it is huge news in the NRLW side of things, and that's why I guess it is being brought up, and it's been a big discussion point because it has left a huge hole now for the Newcastle Knights because there is also 2 teams now coming into the competition. So recruitment is harder than ever. Like there's players that have been already snapped up a lot earlier than normal. Teams are already almost locked in for things, which hasn't really been the case in the past. Women are starting to sign longer-term contracts and that as well to try and set their clubs up, like what's happened here. And Tamika's obviously walked out on the club compassionate ground. compassion grounds, if it's legit compassion grounds, we hope everything in that situation is okay, but it definitely can leave a bit of a sour taste. But it is what it is. It's definitely left a huge hole for the Knights. They've rocketed down in terms of odds, I guess, for the competition next year. It's such a huge loss. And it'll be interesting what happens, I guess, moving forward for either the Broncos and then who the Knights could maybe sign for next year. Maybe Matic goes the other way. Maybe Matic goes and spends a couple of years at Newcastle Knights. But that's it. That's all we've got time for. I hope you all enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed the little touch there of the NRLW side of things as well. As always, drop a comment, go in, slide in the DMs, let us know your thoughts around anything. Anything you'd like to hear, let us know, and let us know about the episode, how you thought. Reminder, go to those raffles. Make sure you get your State of Origin tickets. Hurry up, get in there. Very good reasonings to actually win at the moment as well. But boys, thank you very much. Thanks for being part of it. Trav, sorry about muting you, brother. It was an accident.
It's okay.
Oh, that's the off season for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it.
Be ready for Pub Talk number 2.
We'll be back. Pub Talk episode 2 will be dropping Monday morning. You know that the last one was a bit fiery. If you haven't already, go make sure you give that one a listen, and we'll see what crazy ideas Jake comes up with for the next one. Thanks, guys. Catch you for the next one.